Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sisters of the
Hello.
Mystical Tarot. I am Shari, and I'm here with my beautiful, lovely sisters, Allie from Heart and Soul Connected, Valerie from Dragonfly Crystals, and Marina from Heart Centered Tarot. And we do this, we take turns. So every week we switch out channels, we do a rotating basis. And this week is my turn. So,
Hey.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and um, we try to bring up really interesting different topics that maybe you don't see everywhere else, just something to make you plug in the brain and think a little bit. So, before we get to all of that, I just would like to say a quick hello to those who are here. We've got Hearts and Tarot. I don't know who let her in. We got Allie. There's another one.
Moderators.
Hi, Crystals. There's another one. Mary Starshine is here, and do, do, Gina T is here, and Jackie B is here, and Maureen is here. Butterflies are free, are here.
Mhm.
Innocent Potato, Stargazer, Rhonda, and okay, that's all I got for now. So
Maureen.
welcome, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you
Yep.
for joining us.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
Debbie Smith is here. Jolynn is here. Yay. So we got us some folks showing up. And Connie just popped in. So we've got, before we get going on this, let's take a quick tour around the world here and find out what's next for each person and where you can see each of us next coming up. Miss Allie, we'll start with you. What you got cooking?
Um, uh, I'm not doing very many shows this past few weeks, but I will be on with Jeff on Friday on his channel and just simulcast on mine. And Marina, we don't have our show until next week, right?
That's right. Not
That's right.
until the 13th.
Yep. Yep. So that's what I'm doing right now. Thank you.
All right, we all know where to find her then.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
and Marina, what about you? What you got cooking?
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be over on Val's channel for Messages for Lightworkers, episode 167.
That's an excellent show, y'all. Don't miss it.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I did the last two by myself. I hope I didn't mess it up too much, but she left me in charge. It's her fault. So,
She abandoned us and left the country.
Because I have to say, I know Marina can handle everything.
and then on Saturday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Sheila of Celtic Tarot, Sheila is going to be joining me on my channel, and we're going to do some remote viewings. And for those of you that are not familiar with Sheila and I doing these things, we did it once on a lark just to see what would happen, and man, oh man. We take turns going into remote viewing, and our eyes are closed. And while we're talking about what we're seeing, the other one is holding up cards. And it is amazing how the two seem to work together. So
Excellent.
really, really
Yeah.
looking forward
Nate
to
and
that.
I have done that several times, and it's wild the first time it happens, but after a while you
Yes.
kind of get used to it. But yeah, so
Yes.
that's a lot of fun. And
Yeah,
all right,
that's
Miss
it.
Val, what's up with you now that
Oh.
you're back home?
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to messages for light workers with Marina
Mhm.
tomorrow. And also, really, I have a cool crone oracle on Friday coming up at 4:30 Pacific time. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Now, you all can sign up for my Akashic Record class, which will be actually the 14th of March. So you still have a week to sign up. And I'm sorry, the Cool Crone, that was for next week as well. I kind of skipped lines on my calendar. I do want to let you know on Allie's channel, she'll probably talk about it. she's going to read, if she's in shape for it, is the
Oh,
Akashic Records,
Akashic,
and we'll
yeah.
do that class, the Akashic, Explore the Akash, on Tuesday, the 10th of March. So look
Oh,
forward
cool.
to that. And also two things, actually. March 8th, I'm going backwards, on Sunday, Sun Psychic Jean and I at 11:30. Sorry, I'm backwards because I went for 2 weeks on vacation. Sun Psychic Jean
Retrograde.
on her channel. Yeah. 11:30 a.m. That'll be about, the whole spiritual thing going on. And then on Monday, the Mystic 4, I'm hosting, so it'll be on my channel at 4:30 p.m. So also, if you want to sign up for Akashic Records reading class, it's all for beginners, because everyone can do it.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yep.
I don't care what you think you have or don't have is Claire's. You do, and just go ahead and launch into the unknown and do it. I highly encourage you to do that, and sign up for Dragonfly Crystals .store for that. Allie and Marina also have amazing classes and offer wonderful, wonderful evolutionary steps into exploring yourself and spirituality. So absolutely dive into those as well. At heartandsoulconnected.online and Marina's heartcentertarot.com. And Shari's working on hers.
Yeah.
Working on it. Yeah, it's kind of been on a back burner because I've had so many other things going on. But I've got coming up this week, I've got Politics with Judy tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central. Polyterology on the Cool Crone at 6 o'clock Central Friday night. Saturday, I've got a deep dive with Nate in the morning. That's a pre-recorded show, and then we release it sometime after he uploads it and everything. And then I'll have Sun Psychic Jean on my channel Saturday afternoon. And then as soon as we wrap up, I will be over on Kelly, the Mystic Next Door's channel for a live stream. And of course, the slumber party Saturday night. And that's going to do it for my weekend. Sunday, I'll recuperate and do laundry. That's Sunday and laundry days. But anyway,
Fabulous.
so I see we got a few new people that's popped in. Karen's here, Cindy's here. I saw somebody else pop in too. That
Richleen and
Richleen, that's who else.
Yeah.
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 So welcome. I got to thinking, with all of the stuff going on worldwide since the weekend, it just got me to thinking about ethics versus morality. What is the difference? What is the same? How do we apply it in our everyday lives? How do we apply it with what we do? Because it's as psychics, as readers, I think one of the strongest tenets that we all tend to follow is an ethical and moral code, so that we don't compromise those that we're reading on. And so that, you want to be careful how you tread there, because you're kind of dipping into people's thoughts and feelings and energies, and you don't want to overstep those bounds. First off, ethics. What is ethics? Ethics refers to well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, benefits to society, fairness, or specific virtues. It also refers to the study and development of one's ethical standards. Now, what is morality? Because people tend to get them mixed up like they're the same. Morality refers to personal beliefs about right and wrong That's usually shaped by the culture we grow up in, our family, our day to day experiences, our friends, people we work with. It's kind of, you kind of learn to develop that moral code as a child, and it sort of develops and refines as you get older. Um, Morality is more internal and subjective, it's what makes you feel right, where ethics are more external standards and rules we follow. Like unaliving somebody is bad and you're going to go to jail. Robbing from people is bad. Beating up on your spouse is bad. That kind, cheating your company or cheating your country or doing this, that, or the other. Those would be called unethical actions that are usually wrapped around a person's personal morality. And so I just thought it was, with everything that's been going on, I thought it would be interesting to just take a look at the difference on the two. Um, Now, there is also what is called the Seven Universal Moral Rules research, suggests that these behaviors are consistently viewed as morally good across all cultures. And that's love your family, help your group, return favors, be brave, defer to superiors, divide resources fairly, and respect property. We don't see a whole lot of that very much anymore. And that's a sad thing. It really is. Why do these principles matter? Why does it matter if we have morality or ethics? Basically, according to research, they're saying that it's cooperations. These rules facilitate cooperation, which is a key to human survival. You know, you're not going to expect somebody that's got two broke legs to go out and hunt for food for the tribe. You're going to have people there to take care of the hurt and the injured, and the young and the strong people go out and hunt for the tribe. Um, and that's kind of just a really basic kind of, I think, across the board. You have people that they do things not just for themselves, but for their community, their family, their neighbors, um, because everyone brings a different strength to the common good. Um, there's also another principle, point is universal basis. Um, that usually forms a common moral foundation, um, even if different countries express the same morals but express them differently. Um, you might have, for instance, here in the US of A, people get married or they just live together. It's not that big of a deal for most people anymore. There was a time when that wasn't true, but now it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. But there are other countries where it's not that lightly. You follow a certain pattern of going through a courtship and then getting married and on and on. And so it's still the same basic function of developing a family and creating a home, but they're done differently. And there's also evolutionary roots that we can look at, which are seen as evolved traits that promote group cohesion and conflict resolution. Again, we can point to marriage versus living together. 40 years ago, 30 years ago, everybody was expected to get married. You didn't just live together. You didn't have same sex marriages. You didn't have um, just interracial marriages and stuff. It was very black and white, cut and dried as to what was acceptable to the norm as opposed to what was not. Nowadays, most places in most countries have evolved to a much higher way of thinking that it doesn't matter what color you are, what gender you are. If you love each other and you want to form a family, then that's what builds that community, is having those, having warm, loving families in your community. And so that's just, I thought it would just be interesting. How do we approach these topics? How do we use them with our practice that we do when we're online? And Allie, I guess I'll let you go first since you're up front here.
Okay.
Let the professor speak first.
That
You
is-
could bring a more academic thing to it.
It's very interesting because in the earlier part of the decade, I taught ethics and values, and they tend to go hand in hand. There's a lot of things that are ethically relative. For instance, there's a place here in the world that it's completely acceptable to kill your elders if they're old and asked to be killed. And no one would look at you like you murdered anybody. They just thought you were doing what they believed in. So I'm seeing that schism is so much bigger than when I first started working in that venue. And so a spiritually mature person would examine their own morality, their shadow, their projection, their bias. And so we can say quite honestly that there aren't very many people. Let's put it this way. There's two types of people in the United States, at least. One that would do that, look at the shadow, look at the projection, look at their bias, and they would submit themselves to scrutiny in their own way. And
Right.
there are others who think anything that they do is perfectly fine and aligned with whatever they want to do. And we see it daily. And it isn't just here. I'm sure there are other places on the planet that are the same way. Somebody that's spiritually evolved in ethical pursuits also welcomes accountability. And we know there's a lot of people right now in that schism that do not welcome any kind of, not only accountability, but don't even want you to say anything about what they've done.
Yeah.
And anybody that's spiritual understands good intentions do not erase harm. So, yesterday, Tom Tillis scoured Christy Nome, which was perfectly wonderful. But he brought up the fact that she killed her dog that was 14 months old, and how that just speaks to the type of person she is. And I agree. I totally agree.
Yes.
She has no accountability. The dog pissed her off, so she killed it. That's all there was to it. There's no other reason. Both ethics protects the vulnerable, and morality refines the self. So our morality is our inner compass, our way of believing, our values, and how we see the world. And it is very personal, and it is motivated by what we do and what we know. And it evolves sort of privately. We evolve over time. It may be that it starts out communal with your family, but as you get older, you may veer away from some of the things that they like. But ethics is more collective, as you mentioned, Shari. Absolutely. Ethics is, but that bothers me the most, I think, because ethics is very, very important when you're working with people. You don't go in and touch people inappropriately if you're a healthcare worker. You have to be ethical. You have to, and we don't just do a reading and say, well, looks like someone in your family's going to die. We don't do that. We might say, you might want to go to the doctor. You might want to check out your health. It might be because I'm not God. I don't know anyway. So I love the fact that you brought up both of these at the same time. And one of the examples that I love the most that I found was, as practitioners, we may morally believe that channeling spirits is a sacred act. Another person may feel opposed to that morally. They may say, no, that doesn't work for me. So it is more your own inner compass and what you believe in. But the external framework of ethics is sort of the shared agreements about behavior. But at this point, I believe we're really tipping the scales here, because I don't know that we still share agreements about behavior like we used to.
Yeah, our society is kind of degraded to the point where it's a broad scope of, whatever's up at the moment.
Right.
You don't.
Whatever rings your bell in the moment.
Yeah, whatever rings your bell at the moment.
Yeah, we're teetering on the brink of an ethical disaster here. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and conditional morality, that what I find to be moral or immoral is going to take precedent over anything that you find moral or immoral. And that to me is a sign of someone who is not spiritually in tune, because it also absolves them of any accountability that they might have, right? And I think that as ethical and moral beings, whether we realize it or not, we're constantly gauging what we do by how it fits with our own beliefs, and making sure that our own beliefs don't take over what it is that we're suggesting. So, I may find it reprehensible that someone would disengage from their marriage commitment and have an affair or get a divorce. That is something that's a personal moral belief.
Right.
I cannot, in all good conscience, if I strongly believe in that, I cannot then, do a reading for someone who says, well, I've been having an affair for a couple of years, and I'm thinking of leaving my husband. So, what do the cards say about that? Right. So it's having to walk that fine line and know when our own ideas are superseding what it is that we're doing. And I think as metaphysical workers, most of us do that consciously or unconsciously on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons that when we're asked questions or we're doing readings for the general public, and we get questions regarding, well, is my husband is going in for tests next week. How do you see those test results coming out? We don't have the husband's permission to read on that. So, that's a question that we would probably, we would avoid reading on the husband. We can read on how it's going to affect you, but we don't have their permission. And it's something that we constantly check ourselves against, right? Is it ethical, and is it moral? And then, more than anything else, having the guts to be able to say, that's not something I'm prepared to read on.
And it's to get the person that's asking for that particular kind of reading to make them understand the ethical and moral guidelines that we are each following by saying, I can't read on your husband. He's not here to give me permission for that. Because for whatever reason in their relationship, they totally speak for each other, and maybe that works for them. But when you take it outside of your relationship, then you have to incorporate somebody else's morals and ethics. So, absolutely. What about you, Val? What you got?
Well, for me, just the work I've been doing with not judging anything steps into the morality and shreds it apart. Because what are we doing when we have a moral code for this, that, or the other thing? It means we're judging ourselves and anyone else who comes into our, like cheating or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. And being gay or whatever your moral code that you grew up with, it's really a false persona where for you to say safe in society, and you create that false persona and you call it morality, but it's what you feel threatened about. So think of it as it's a coding for your shadow side. Mm-hmm. And so in that way, and, I'm not saying that there isn't something important about looking at life with without blinders, looking at life clearly and in truth. So what would the truthful person that is looking from their soul do? They wouldn't go into a marriage, commit themselves to a partnership, and then go off on their own and do something that can weaken their connection with their partner. That's just an example of what I'm talking about, where if you just live in the truth of who you are and let people do their own thing, because you're not here to judge other people, you're here to do your own thing. Yeah. So in that way, morality is kind of like something.
Sorry, we had a brownout. Everything went dark.
You figured.
So you want to, you would then want to stay away from those personal and cultural beliefs of right and wrong that morality is based upon. Because you don't know, like when you're in ethics and it's ethical in the community to have euthanasia or whatever it may be, like Allie was saying, it's perfectly acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly acceptable and ethical. It's a group of people who decide what you consider ethical in your, and what do we as this community of readers feel? Everything you all said about not telling people their death date, you're not here
to give them the lotto numbers.
Yeah, and to give clear readings, you're not judging them on any questions that they're asking you. And you're not going to read on unethical questions like Marina's saying. You're going to read on things that are going to be helpful to them. It's not helpful to them to know what their lotto numbers are or to know whatever silly other thing it might be. But you're helping guide them toward a better perspective and overview of their lives. That's the whole principle of what this is all about. But so ethics is a very, it's also a buy-in by the community. But you do have to have some framework of understanding and when you're going to do medical, if you're a doctor, if you're a metaphysical community doing readings, you're going to have a level of what you believe is going to be beneficial to the community. You're not going to badmouth each other. You're not going to talk about your clients' readings to everyone or get online and spread. There are lines that aren't good for people, and you're not going to do things that would harm anyone. It's already built in. It's built in. So if you are ethical and you subscribe to that, you're not going to do unethical things in your life generally. You're going to hold to those ethics no matter what. So still, it is a boundary. It is a man-made concept. And to understand it as such, because you are not all of these rules. You are just a spiritual, you aren't just. You are divine source projecting down into your vehicle. What does that mean? It means you're here on earth discovering all these things and learning how to flow with them while still remembering who you are. And so
Mhm.
buying into any of this kind of thing and making it you, this is my code. This is my,
Right.
it might
Right.
be a red flag for you to step back, because it is about wounding and how to protect myself and how to, so that's my
Mhm.
take on it.
I love it.
And don't
Love-
forget, both morality and ethics are things that can shift,
Yeah.
right? There there was a time, several hundred years ago, where it was considered ethical and moral to, marry your 9-year-old
Yeah.
daughter to your or to her cousin.
Perfectly valid.
What was done.
To her
It
30-year-old
was,
cousin at that, you know.
It was
yeah,
done as a
whatever.
normal thing.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So
They're an
there
old
is
maid, but
that
they're
opportunity.
15.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. So, the idea of, respect in a culture. There are some cultures that revere their elders and, consider that the advice that their elders share to be sacred and to be something that is listened to. And then there are other cultures that once you get past a certain age, it's like, oh God, you have no idea what's going on. You just, your opinion doesn't matter. So
Mhm.
it's constantly shifting. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it can be a little bit of a challenge to find your own place, to find your own um, source of that morality, of those ethics, and to say this is what I think it's important to me, and I will share them with you. If they are important to you, then that's okay. If they aren't, then that's okay too, right? Because I'm not going to stand in judgment of someone who disagrees with my morals. I haven't walked in their shoes. I have no idea what their history is. So,
Yeah, and I love what you said, Marina. Your moral code changes. It's
Yeah.
not the old, oh, I got it from my parents. You're going to
Yeah.
grow and change who you are, and it's going to flow with you and how you view
yes.
life in a different way. And
Mhm.
while, your morality will not be based on fear.
Yes.
Oh, I hate it when people cheat on me because, it's all, it's that kind of, and you draw to you what you have that about.
Mhm.
And
That's
so
true.
isn't that interesting? So
So one of the things that I read today that is to me completely unethical is that the FDA is adding, it said, over 100 things to our food that aren't good for us.
yes,
Yes.
And oh my God, like what food?
That's
Everything?
unethical behavior. Yeah.
It
It's
absolutely
unethical.
is.
Yeah.
They have no morals,
No.
Yes.
really. Yeah.
Well, and we tend to,
Yeah.
I think, as people, we tend to group ourselves with other people who kind of have the same moral
Yes.
code that we do.
You're right.
And then when one person steps outside of that moral code because for whatever reason they believe something else,
Mhm.
then it becomes a situation of, well, does the group adapt and accept this change? Or does this person kind of get booted out and sent on their way and go find your own tribe? You don't belong here anymore. To me, that's where religion falls into
Well,
place, is because we
Control.
tend to want to
Yes.
gather with people that we think are all on the same moral page as we are. Um, and
that's why
out of that moral page, we're setting forth our ethical standards of what is and is not acceptable. Um, I think the disconnect for a lot of people is when people that they tend to hold up to a little bit of a higher standard as part of their moral or ethical group, turns out that they have no morals or ethics at all and are breaking the social norm of it. And so then you have that dissonance, where people are trying to figure out, how do I reconcile this? just, I mean, there's so many different ways. Um,
Mhm. You're absolutely right, Shari, in that we, the people that we hold to a higher standard should should have fairly defined and clearly articulated morals and ethics, so that
absolutely.
we know ahead of time that this is what your belief is, and I agree with that belief. If I agree with someone else, I should be able to choose to go with them. So, in terms of, putting pesticides or different things into the food source, that is not ethical because it is not a standard that we have all agreed to.
That's exactly
It's
right.
someone who has decided that this is what we're going to do, and I know what's best for you.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah, exactly.
really, I beg to differ.
It's
Well,
exactly.
it's like some of these states that have recently, in the past few years, who have passed new legislation that you can marry off your 13-year-old daughter to a 40 or 50-year-old man. It's like that is not only morally disgusting to me, but ethically, it's like, okay, so you're promoting a particular lifestyle that the majority of society deems as not only illegal, but um,
Mm.
uh, I can't think of the word now. It just
Repugnant.
a what?
Repugnant.
Repugnant. That's a good word. Yes. Not the one I was looking for, but I'll use it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just it's. I think that's why, especially when you have really tight religious groups, and if someone that's deemed a leader in that group breaks those moral and ethical codes, that structure as a whole tends to fracture and is no longer very cohesive because suddenly you expect your leadership, whether if it's religious or political or cultural or whatever, you expect your leadership to live on a higher standard than you do yourself.
I love that, what you just said, Shari, because that same scenario is playing out in my. I hope the HOA doesn't ever watch my streams, but here's the dealio. So it is hilarious, everyone. So you know how we have a leader of the country who is like
Wackadoodle.
gone way bridges too far of what, and he shows people how to behave toward one another. Okay. So in my little HOA, we had a little takeover. My husband's on the board, so we know what's going, the ins and outs of it. But it's like I call them, okay, everyone, I call them the QAnons. But they have no basis in truth about anything that they throw out. They don't care. They'll just spout it out. They got voted in. There's 2 of them, but there's more of the, 3 of the original board members. But the bottom line is they are throwing everything at. I mean, our management company wants to quit because they're on them constantly about, one. I mean, I can't even go on and on, but the point is they had permission. They saw the permission slip from the big one, who shows you can run all over people, not listen to them at all, not let them speak. One of them got up in the meeting, the board member, put their hand physically in front of the management company's representative and said, "I don't speak. I don't want to hear it." And everybody was like,
"Oh my God."
I mean, they were so appalled. I mean, they were so appalled. They were just Well, we would like to hear our management company representative speak in the board meeting.
Yeah.
It's like these people are they're very interesting. Anyway, the point of the matter is when you give permission in a societal setting and the leader is behaving this way, it's giving permission to it funnels down, folks. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, it does.
That's the only thing that actually trickles down and
Yes.
works.
Yes, I said to my husband, "Oh
But
my
then-
God! See, this is what this."
Well, then you have somebody like Jerry Falwell, and the first time he said, "I've sinned against you all with this woman, and forgive me," and all that shit.
Yeah.
And then he gets caught again later, and he goes, "It's none of your business."
Exactly. See, yeah. I mean,
You know, so sometimes I don't think they do route out who they need to. It's like a lot, like Gonzalez in Texas should be gone. Gone.
The amount of children over the centuries that have been abused by a particular religion's clergy. And the result was always not to punish that particular clergyman, but to shuffle them off to another parish and to another church.
Yes.
And then try to pay off all the families that already got hurt. Or else have that family ostracized. You know, well, there was something wrong with your child. I mean,
right.
And we've all grown up with that. We
never believe the victim. Right.
Linda Bishop says,
Exactly.
You can have Donald and Karen.
It's like you can have a man come forward 40 years after being molested and come forward and share what happened, and everybody falls all over themselves. Oh, it's so brave of you. You came forward. You're going to be able to clear this out and heal from it. You let a woman do that, and it's, well, why did it take you 40 years to say something? What were you hiding? You just really enjoyed it, didn't you? What were you wearing? What were you doing?
Yeah.
It's the double standard.
There's even preachers out there that say women should be raped if they're not dressed right. There's even
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
In society, we all have to come to the decision that it's not ethical for women to make less. It's not ethical for all of us to be treated in any way, shape, or form in a denigrating way. Period. We have to come to that.
Yes.
I like what Silver Woods just said. When you allow it, you condone it.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Woods, exactly.
And that is when you not only see the ethical code start to break down, but then you start seeing the moral code start to break down.
Yes.
Because then you have people looking and saying, well, if it's okay for the community as a whole to do ABC, then it's okay for me to do it too. You know, maybe they always grew up thinking that ABC was really, really bad. And then they grow up and everybody's like, no, it's not bad at all. It just, you have backward thinking. So, you know, it's trying to bring people along as we learn and evolve and grow stronger within our own moral compass, of trying to let people know it's okay if you need to expand or change that moral compass because you learn differently that there's nothing wrong with that same-sex couple. They're wonderful together. They have wonderful children.
Well, it's none of your business.
Take care of them.
Yes, exactly. None of your business.
It's none of your damn business, right?
None of your business.
But when you
stay in your own business,
the reactions, or when someone who's had that reaction to that kind of a family, it's the fact that they then have that option of either they're going to go overboard in their rejection of it, or they're going to sit back and then reevaluate, well, why did I always think that was wrong? They don't appear wrong. They're not doing anything wrong. They seem to be happy and in love, and their family is strong and part of the community.
And still, it's none of your business. I mean,
Absolutely.
you pay attention to yourself and
That's right.
the way you are looking at life and how you're living,
Yep.
and you're going to be miles ahead in remembering who you are. Because the minute you start
Yep.
pointing fingers at everything around you, you're going away from the core you, the soul. And so that's what this is: distraction, 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 distraction.
Yeah.
Putting labels on things, judging things. And what is that doing? You're not looking at yourself where you need to be looking.
That's right.
And what's your growth and evolution? Where are you at? And in this community, we really have a wide reaching acceptance level of everything, because as long as you're ethical and principled and you aren't here to harm anyone, you're pretty welcome no matter what. I mean, everybody's different. We're all unique flavors of divine source. So
it'd be pretty boring if we were all the same.
Oh
flavor.
my gosh! Can you
Exactly.
imagine? Like the Stepford?
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
for sure.
Totally.
It's that, as culture, I think, as a whole, as ethics kind of grow and evolve and expand, it then allows for individuals' moral codes to maybe grow and expand and learn that, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's really okay. Or, they're not demons trying to destroy everybody's children. That's not what they're doing. And I think that, and again, that becomes a personal thing morally, but ethically, then you're looking at community guidelines where it becomes even more important to make people understand you can still follow your own moral code. No one's banging your door down and telling you have to do, this, that, or the other. We're just saying that other people should have the option of doing what makes them happy, as long as they aren't hurting other people.
Yes.
One of your moral codes should be allow others to be as they are.
That's
Yes.
right.
Allow them to live as they are when they're not hurting anyone. That should be on the moral code. How about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agree completely
Exactly.
with that.
Yeah.
You know what's really interesting is I have, throughout my life, been woken up or had the doorbell ring on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday morning by someone who wants to teach me their morality and tell me how I'm going to get, how the steps that I need to take to get into heaven and to lead that righteous life. Not one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday in my life have I ever been approached by anyone who knocked on my door and said, "Hey, would you like to try being a lesbian? We're having meetings down the street and we'd really like you to swing
Like
on
they're
by."
going to recruit you.
Yeah. Or become an intravenous drug user.
Exactly.
yes.
Come to your door and say, "Here's
Come
my
on down.
suitcase
Or
of
make you-
drugs.
Check it out.
Would you like to
Make you
come?"
dress up in drag and walk down the street, and read books to kids. I mean,
That's a good one.
nobody's
Yeah.
twisting your arm with these types.
It's fear-based kind of dogma, morality made from fear-based kind of dogma. And
Yes.
that includes the religious dogma and everything else that we have to take a look at and take the judgment out of.
Yeah.
Because that judgment is not doing us any good.
No, it's not serving anyone
No.
except for the people who are out there telling you what you need to do.
Exactly.
If the rules don't apply to me, I'm different. I'm a little better than you. I'm a little smarter than you. So I'm going to tell you what you need to do in order
Right.
to achieve A, B, C, or D. But don't look to me for guidance because I'm already perfect.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to heaven and I'm going to, sit at the right hand of God and all that kind of good stuff.
Exactly. And
So,
when I hear
yeah.
the word righteous right there, I'm like,
Yes.
my antenna go up, my hackles on the back of
Yes.
my neck. That is a trigger word for
Yes.
I'm going to judge the heck out of you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you
And 357 357 Beagle says, as a lesbian, every time I wear a dress, I am in drag. Yes.
Yes.
And the fact that
absolutely.
you have to, that we need to identify. Again, that's something that I have never had to do. Hi, my name is Marina, heterosexual.
Exactly. That we were just people.
Why?
Don't label us, right? We're people.
Yes.
Just show up.
Hi, I'm Jane Doe, and I'm a divorcee. So therefore, lock up your husband because I'm considered dangerous now that I'm in the neighborhood. That
It'd
used
be
to
like
very
that, like
common thought,
labeling and introducing yourself as your list of dogmatic ideas.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's I saw a little plaque and I thought it was fabulous, and it said, I identify as rage.
Yeah.
My pronouns are try me.
Yeah, exactly.
with a side of hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That's hilarious. That gives you kind of food for thought about looking at things from a different perspective, right?
Yeah. It does. It does. Well, who am I to stand in judgment of anyone and how they live? At the end of the day, I want to know, are you a good person? Do you care about others?
So
will you look after the animals and those that have less than you do? Are you willing to share that? That's all I need to know. I don't care where you practice your religion, who you invite into your bedroom. That's none of my business.
And even if
none of my business.
Unless you're planning on a group party, that's
even if somebody is displaying their Karen side or whatever. I'm sorry, Karen, if there's a Karen in the audience, but if they're displaying the other part of their persona, it's not even for us to judge. They're just showing up doing their thing in that particular aspect of who they are. As long as it doesn't harm anyone, that's okay. It's not for you to judge it anyway. The people involved in whatever's going on are who are involved. But it's a window. Yeah, this whole conversation today is a window into looking at how we view and label each other. And what is it all about? Why do we do that? Why do we feel like we need to do that? And what that's all about. And really developing.
And then hide behind the title of, well, it's immoral. What you're doing is immoral.
Exactly.
According to who?
Yeah, exactly.
According to who?
Exactly.
Who's morals am I breaking?
Yeah.
Not against my morals. So I mean, in as society as a whole becomes more woke, as the popular phrase goes, and realizes that it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight or black or white or American or German or African or just whatever, you are who you are. And as long as your morals allow for protecting those weaker than you. And
I think that should just be skip the morals and go right to the ethics. The principles and ethics of society and treating each other with respect and regard, because it's good.
But our ethics and our and whatnot stem from our morals. That tends to be what we use to make up our rules. Don't kill anybody. beat people up. Don't cheat on your spouse. Don't
Did you notice
steal,
that
don't.
that isn't working too well? Because when
No, it's
you're
not.
putting
Because
a morality out there on society, you don't have control of society.
that's
They're,
it.
they're going to.
We're in a really
they're
bad
gonna-
place right now. We really are.
Yeah,
know,
you're
the
in
thing
that
is,
place. So
Absolutely.
take
that
take
kind
that
of code
morality,
only works if everybody follows it,
That's right.
and they won't, and they won't,
and they don't. Yeah.
and they can't, because
Yeah.
this is Earth School, and we're all experiencing the contrast of everything, and that's
Yes.
what it's all about. It isn't about a moral decision of anything. It really is just about, what does your soul call you to do? And when you get in touch with the soul level, you aren't doing all those other things. They're just distractions.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if we let's considering the number of people that are out there that want us to become Christian and live the life that Jesus lived, and on and on and on. I believe, and I could be mistaken, but I think I'm quoting it right when I say, did he not say, let he who is without sin cast the first stone?
He did.
Thank you.
Love
That's,
your
that's
neighbor
it.
as yourself.
Basically, that's the argument to the whole thing that I'm talking about.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
Love
So
your neighbor as yourself.
all of those things are
Do
saying,
unto others.
get your morals out of the way.
Be a good Samaritan.
Yeah.
I mean, those were all
Exactly.
things that he taught. And
You're going to be
You are
shining the
your
light.
brother's keeper.
It is the soul's light shining through you that has you being kind, that has you being
Yes.
accepting of others, that has you being a loving being, that has you caring with compassion to your fellow man and animals and everything on the planet. The soul, going back to the basic part of why we're all here, is to remember that's who we are.
Yes.
While we're exploring all this fun difference between light and dark, yin and yang, good and bad, right and wrong, we're just tasting it all and seeing what it's all about. So if you put judgment and fear on top of it, you're just covering up the light of what it's all about.
What bothers me is people deciding that the best explanation for what we've done in Iran is that our great leader was chosen by God to create Armageddon, so Jesus will come back, because whatever happens, that's fine. That's the come on. I mean, that is just crazy.
It is.
Crazy.
That's definitely a QAnon territory almost.
Yeah. That's
and
not
that's
what he
been-
said.
That's been the basic talking point for many different religions, especially those in the Christian persuasion, for the last, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 years, is how do we get Armageddon to happen so Jesus will come back? Well, it doesn't work that way.
I got news for you. He ain't coming back.
He isn't.
He's taking a look at what's going on, and he's saying, "Oh, you all know."
Exactly. And this is our second coming, us coming online, waking up to who we are. This is the second coming. The Christing within, the Buddha within. It's that awakening consciousness within us. That's who we that's what this second coming was all about. And it's just been taken to all kinds of strange places.
Well, for instance, what we do now is what used to be considered evil and witchcraft, and we need to be rid of these women because they are stepping outside of the norm of what we as a society say is acceptable.
Well, I mean, I agree. And Shari, aren't there societies where even having your menses is like dirty, or you have to be thrown out of the village while you're doing it because it's just
right.
In the Muslim religion, you can't go into the mosque when you're having your period.
Yes.
No. That's there it is. And I think it's the Aboriginal tribes who
Yeah, there are several tribes that
often your own.
there were several Native American tribes that had that, but they didn't teach it as being dirty. They taught it as separating them to be with the older women to teach them
That's a higher
how to
aspect.
take care of
Yes.
their bodies
Yeah.
and how to be able to not burden their husbands, I guess, with having to deal with their monthly issues.
Yeah.
But it was never
It
taught
was
as
something that was
dirty.
sacred. It was something that was seen as being sacred and spiritual, not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah, and
Right.
there are
So-
villages. I don't think it's just the Aboriginal tribes. Some of them, and I read that they actually, or even I could be wrong about Tibet too, but something about they have to go into a hut and be by themselves during this time because they're not clean. All this kind of crazy stuff.
Well, the
But
not
it-
clean stuff comes from men because men
Yes,
just
it
didn't
comes
have to
from
deal
men.
with
It
it.
comes from men. But but here's the thing.
No
though,
offense, guys.
because
We love you.
women are the ones birthing and bringing life forth, and here we are disrespected in so many different regards, and it does show you that the inside a man, he has to understand he has the divine feminine within him, and he's really doing that to himself.
Mhm.
He is, just disrespecting a female. I mean, he's disrespecting that part of himself. So, yeah.
Well, I know there are
There
several
you
other
go.
Native American tribes that teach it as this is a time to be with older women to learn everything, to prepare yourself for motherhood, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, so
There you go.
don't point fingers.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting topic with all this happening in the world today. It's like, okay. So, thank you, ladies. We will be on Val's channel next week. She will be our wonderful hostess.
Yes.
So, and I'm sure she'll have us one whopper of a topic we'll have to study for, as usual.
Yes. Yes.
Fucked out.
And big love to everybody. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. Thank you for all the interesting conversations. I kept getting caught up in the chat and was like every now and again I had to mute so I could respond. And and y'all have a great evening, great rest of your week, and we will see you
We'll see you later.
later.